There are 4 principles you can apply to protect the privacy of yourself and the colleagues, students, and parents you work with. These 4 principles can help direct your thinking about privacy. Guiding these principles is the Local Authority Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, called LA-FOIP, which is the legislation in Saskatchewan governing privacy rights and responsibilities for boards of education and school division staff. The first principle is to collect only the information that you need for the purposes of the school division. Schools arguably collect more information about students than any other sector. Information about health, counseling, education, parents, and so on. Before any piece of information is collected, you should be able to clearly answer the question, why are we collecting this information? You must be able to tell the person giving you the information the reason why the school division requires it. If the reason for collecting the information is not clear, the information should not be collected. The second principle is once information is collected, make sure it's secure. Recognize that everything you write on a notepad, in a laptop, or any other mobile device, even information posted in daybooks or on calendars, is defined as a record subject to LA-FOIP. How information is collected needs to be top of mind and understood by all employees. Are you aware of the acceptable use policy of the Board of Education? Are laptops provided to employees protected? Are there rules on how laptops and other mobile devices should be stored when out of the school or office? All employees who are involved in collecting or using records on students or colleagues must understand and apply these policies to avoid potential privacy breaches. The third principle is to ensure access to information is appropriate. You should only access and use information if you need it for your job. If you might need the information at some point down the road, then you should not view, use, or store the information. Might, need access is never an excuse to provide access to information. Students and parents will have access to student information, and employees will have access to their own information. However, access can be limited by the provisions of LA-FOIP. The boards also may be able or may be required to disclose information to third parties, including the general public, the press, and the ministries of education, justice, or health. In all these cases, the provisions of LA-FOIP will determine what information can and cannot be disclosed. Boards of education and employees need to know who oversees access to information requests. If you can't answer who that person is in your school division, then seek advice from your supervisor. Ideally, there will be at least one contact in a school division who manages these requests and is knowledgeable in LA-FOIP processes, such as responding to a complaint from the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner, responding to a breach, or responding to a formal request, as well as understanding when a formal request to information is required. The fourth and final principle is that you must keep records for only as long as they are needed for the purposes for which they are created. Retention periods vary depending on the document or file. There is a guide that has been created that helps with those decisions. Boards of education will have a policy regarding records retention. For example, what happens to information in day planners or electronic devices when an employee leaves a school division? What about photos of students that teachers or principals may have? Should those photos be stored on an employee's personal computer at home? Does the employee have the proper permission or ownership to store the personal information of students? There must be follow-up, as that type of information at the end of the day is the responsibility of boards of education and in most cases must not be retained by employees. Let's review those 4 principles. 1. Collect only what you need for the purposes of your job. 2. Once collected, make sure it's secure. 3. Ensure that use, access, and disclosure of information is appropriate. And 4. Keep records for only as long as you need them for the purposes for which they are created. If you keep those 4 principles in mind, you're taking the first steps to eliminate potential privacy breaches and to ensure that the privacy of you and the colleagues, students, and parents you work with is protected. If you have any questions, contact the LA FOID coordinator in your school division who may need to seek legal advice on a particular case. Thank you, and keep your privacy protected.